Hello, I'm Kozyra. Welcome everyone to my presentation on how parents can help their children at home. I'm a Canadian teacher, and this is my 14th year in Hong Kong. Now, even though I have left the formal classroom, I'm not retired as such, as is evident, of course, by my appearance here today. I tutor students privately now, and I'm a freelance writer for the South China Morning Post and other magazines that feature articles for parents. Maybe some of you have read some of my articles in some of the magazines. This one happens to be Playtimes. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the things that I have said there. I'm also the weekly soloist for a large church here in Hong Kong. You know, apparently there's a common term for someone who continues to work and refuses to retire. The word is nuts. But that's okay. It doesn't bother me at all. Well, parents, the school year is well underway, and I know you've got a sincere focus on what you can do best to help your child in school. It is said that our children are the heart of the future. So they need our guidance, they need our support, they need our encouragement to help them succeed in life. Now, perhaps you've heard of the 3 Ds to succeed: desire, discipline, and dedication. All parents try to instill these in their children. Now, in the handout booklet I've prepared for you today, one of the pages is entitled 25 Short Parenting Tips That Rock by Rachel Wise. And when I looked over it, I believe I'm going to be touching on every one of those 25 tips during this presentation today. So that's coincidental. Dr. Roger Taylor, a leading expert in gifted education, whom I've actually had the good fortune to listen to a couple of times in my teaching career, used an old fairy tale to make a point, and it's this: if you don't kiss all of the frogs, you won't know which one will be the prince or the princess. This may sound vague or silly, but what he's saying is that we have to look after the needs of all children. Now, that tells us how much work we as parents and teachers must do to tap and find that talent. We have to find out what turns their crank, what lights their fire, so that we can nourish it and foster that true potential, so that it will not go unnoticed and can be developed productively. And this is not just for gifted or for the very bright students. He believes this is essential for all students. Learning, of course, began the day your child was born, and it doesn't stop. So your work as a parent began that very day. Was there a test you wrote and passed before becoming a parent? Absolutely not. None of us did. Oh, and did you get a manual from the hospital on how to raise your child when you were sent home? No, none of us did. Back in those days, I got a case of stout beer to stimulate breastfeeding. That's what I got from the hospital. My purpose today is to simply just review with you all the things that you possibly already know, but might have forgotten. Some tips and tidbits. Yes, the first 3 words of my book title. Consider it like a cookbook, tried and true recipes. What I have found that works and what doesn't work. You may not agree with everything, and I accept that. Now, let me preface my talk with the fact that I'm also a parent. That helps. The mother of 2 married daughters in Canada, and also the grandmother of 6 delightful grandchildren. So I come well qualified on a few fronts. However, I know that there is no perfect family. Someone once said, families are like fudge, mostly sweet, but with a few nuts. Nuts again. Well, I'll be the first to tell you that I was not a perfect mother, nor was I the perfect teacher. But in those 50 years that I spent in the classroom, I did learn a few things. And I'm here to share some of them with you now. Your child is a very special person. And in a while, I will tell you just how special your child is and that you too are. Both mom and dad. Now let me say what isn't said enough about parents. I will choose you, Mom, more this time to focus on. Some of you might be working mothers or stay-at-home dads, and that's not a bad thing at all. But you might tend to worry at times that you're not all that you can be for your child. And I think that's natural. But let's try to make that stop today. When is the last time someone told you you're a good mom or a good dad? Well, you are. Just know that, and that you are doing the very best that you can at this point in time. Oh, sure, there might be some of the things you could have done better or you regretted. Let it go. Like the song we keep hearing from Frozen, let it go. Stop heaping guilt on your shoulders and beating yourself up. Why do we do that? Guilty. There was a video that came out on October 22nd on YouTube, One Day in the Life of a Mom. So poignant. The caption reads, "This mom feels like a failure until she overhears her son say something that leaves her in tears." And it also says, "Our worth is not summed up by a mundane list. Life isn't about how much we get done in a day." You can just Google October 22nd, San Francisco or SF Globe, and it comes right up, and it's well worth watching. You'll love it. All of that information, of course, is in your handbook. Now, remember, when mothers work, children have to share the work. Yes, and the experts agree that children should have chores and responsibilities. Feed the pet, make your own bed, take your dirty plate to the sink, and so on and so on. Just look at the independence right there that you're fostering in your child. In my book, I include an overindulgence test for parents. And let me tell you that most working moms pass this test with flying colors. Why? Because they just don't have time to overindulge. There's a saying that goes like this: if you give a starving man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. We have to teach our children to fish. Overindulgence can make us become our child's arms and ears and brains. Some experts say that overindulging parents are, quote, recreating the womb. Overindulging parents want to jump in and help at the slightest frustration, and they forget all the positive spin-offs of a child experiencing a certain amount of frustration. Every time you help, your child could feel more helpless when you start hearing, "I can't do it, I don't want to try, and do it for me." You've heard it. And so on. Your child needs to learn that, as they say, and I quote, "The highest fences we need to climb are those we've built with our minds. If you think you can't, you can't." And I firmly believe that. If you're told you are stupid, you can become stupid. And I have personally seen this happen in my lifetime, a true story. Overindulgent parents, they tidy up for their child, they pick up all the toys for them, they pack their backpacks, so that very often the child has no idea what's even inside the bag. I say at school, "Where's your homework?" And I hear, "I don't know. Maybe my mom forgot to put it in." No clues. They have not been taught to take ownership of their own things. Overindulgent parents, and actually the term that's used nowadays for overindulgent is helicopter parents, always hovering over their children. Anyway, these types of parents do their child's school projects. The teacher always knows who they are. Believe me, that doesn't take rocket science to figure out. These parents do their assignments, and the teacher can get a false sense of what the child can really do. They tell the child the homework answers before the child even has a chance to figure it out. They baby their child. They smother with praise that is often overdone and not always honest or genuine or given for real successes or for real accomplishments. was just reading some recent research on the topic of praise, and it was found that too much praise, or the wrong kind of praise, can be actually detrimental to the child. The child can even feel a false sense of accomplishment and may even become very needy adult, wanting praise constantly. Now, I'm not sure if you remember Ann Landers. She's a famous writer of advice columns for years in many newspapers across the world. And she once said, "It is not what you do for your children, but what you have taught them to do for themselves that will make them successful human beings." Sometimes it is said the best lessons we learn come from the biggest failures we have. And I think we can all relate to that. You know, the famous singer Rihanna, her latest tattoo says, "Never a failure, always a lesson." Perhaps this is a good time to mention a book for parents called "Don't Kiss Me at the Bus Stop." Over 700 things parents do to drive their kids crazy. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, "Teachers open doors, you enter by yourself." I'm old, and this is not a Chinese proverb, but I have personally followed just 10 two-letter words for attaining most of the things in my own life so far. And I recommend you instill these 10 little words in your child as well. 10 two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. I cannot tell you how many times I have said and followed these 10 words in my lifetime. If it is to be, it is up to me. A good example is this book. It would never have been written. We want our children to be inspired and motivated and self-reliant, to use their own initiative to get things done and to accomplish. 10 two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. We want them to have that attitude. Now, another thing I did to motivate and inspire my students, I remember doing this a lot when I taught gifted students for 15 years in Canada. And that was to show them a huge poster with another great statement on it, with each word in a different color. And we would repeat the statement 5 times, each time stressing a different word. Here it is. You have to make it happen. Now let's try it together. You have to make it happen. 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 Yeah. It's a good statement for parents and teachers, because we do have to make it happen for our children, don't we? And we want them to make it happen too. They say there are 3 kinds of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. There's another test for parents in my book, which, and I think it was in one of the magazines that you may have read, which your child gets to mark. And it's called "How Well Do You Know Your Child?" It's a fun quiz by Judy Bailey. Some of us parents at times don't know as much as we think we do about our child, so this quiz could be a needed reminder for us to listen more often to our child. Ask our child about his or her opinions and feelings on various topics and subjects, and to be more observant of their actions and their habits and their behavior. So of course, communication is vital as you encourage your child to converse and share their thoughts with you. Just think for a second. Do you know what your child's favorite color is? Who's your child's favorite best friend? What color pajamas did your child wear last night to bed? Now remember, Mom, that you need quality time with your husband. He came first to you before your child, and he'll be there long after your child has left for college and flown the coop, as we say. So have those date nights. Buy that lock for the bedroom door. Take steps to stop your child from sleeping in your bed. Remember that you too have to do things for yourself. You need a life too. So take those music lessons, join that book club, and don't think your family needs a gourmet meal every night and a spotless home all the time. I so wish I had learned all that back then. Hindsight is great, isn't it? Another thing to remember is quality time versus quantity time. You know, you can be at home all day and not do a thing for your child or with your child. Now, personally, I never stopped working, so it had to be quality time for my girls. There was no choice. And of course I had guilt about what more I could have been doing for them and with them. And when they were in their 20s, of course, they told me a few things that were hard to hear about how I raised them. You just wait. They do that. Here's one of my secret tricks. If the worst comes to the worst in terms of stress, tension, exhaustion, and you need to escape a bit, just remember that old trick of the soft quilt and the pillow and head to the bathroom. Lock that door, lie in the bathtub with the quilt and the pillow, and crawl in with a good book or a magazine, or just rest there and breathe deeply and have a cat nap, or just think the thoughts you want to think and enjoy a few moments alone. They won't even miss you, and they won't even bother you if you're in the toilet, will they? I'll now give you the titles of 2 books for you, Mom and Dad. They are called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff Treasuries, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff Treasury for Mothers, and one, of course, for Fathers by Richard Carlson. Now we're going to move to Why Your Child is So Special. And this poem is the best. I'm special. In all the world, there is nobody like me. Since the beginning of time, there has never been another person like me. Nobody has my smile. Nobody has my eyes, my nose, my hair, my hands, my voice. I'm special. Nobody can be found who has my handwriting. And nobody anywhere has my tastes for food or music or art. No one sees things just as I do. And in all of time, there has been no one who laughs like, no one who cries like me. And what makes me laugh and cry will never provoke identical laughter and tears from anyone else. No one reacts to any situation just as I would react. I'm special. I am the only one in all of creation who has my set of abilities. Oh, there will always be someone who is better at one of the things I'm good at, but no one in the whole universe can reach the quality of my combination of talents, my ideas, my feelings, my abilities. Like a room full of musical instruments, some may excel alone, but none can match the symphony sound when all are played together. I'm a symphony! And through all of eternity, no one will ever look, talk, walk, think, or do like me. I'm special. I'm rare. And as in all rarity, there is great value. Because of my great rare value, I need not attempt to imitate others. I'll accept, yes, celebrate my differences. I'm special. And I'm beginning to see why God made me special for a very special purpose. He must have a job for me to do that no one else can do as well as I. Out of all the billions of applicants, only one is qualified. Only one has the right combination of what it takes, and that one is me, because I'm special. So let your child know that you realize that we learn differently, at different rates, at different learning styles. I think I'm special should be read once a term to your child or with your child, because it's good for us to hear it too. And that's why I've included it in my book. So, how can we help our child do well in school? Every parent wants their child to be a productive contributor to society someday. Show your child that you value school and how important you feel it is. Make sure that school comes first in your family's priorities, before the sports, before the socializing, before the job that your teenager has after school. Support your child's teacher. This is crucial. And remember how thin those walls are in your house when you're talking about your child's teacher or their school. Their hearing is excellent when you don't want them to hear. I saw on Facebook the other day a pin that said, "You can't put students first if you put teachers last." Now, let's get your child off to school. First and foremost, make sure that you're sending a healthy child to school and that your home environment is healthy as well. Medical checkups, money worthwhile spending. Yearly appointments for the teeth and the eyes and the ears and the general wellness should be a matter of course. I suggest doing it in the summer so they don't miss school. Parents should be prepared to inform the teacher in writing of any medical situations that affect the child. The teacher should know if your child is on medicine or if there's a special treatment for a medical issue, like ADHD or diabetes or asthma or epilepsy or allergies, fears, phobias, any of those things. Parents can routinely check their child for common problems like head lice, pinworms or threadworms. The old flashlight trick in the night when they are sleeping is well explained in my book for detecting worms. Is your child getting enough sleep? You as a parent must know how many hours of sleep your child requires at each age level, and valuable information on this is also laid out in my book for you. Sleep deprivation of children in Hong Kong is major and it's chronic. And so that's why it's so often written about in the newspapers. You see it all the time. A lack of sleep can really make your child ill and unable to learn at his or her best. However, one of the characteristics of gifted children is that they often require less sleep. After you tuck them into bed at night and turn out those lights, you may find that they're reading half the night. Are you monitoring the junk food, the sugar intake, the fat intake, the carbohydrate intake? Obesity is a pressing problem now, so this is important. As parents, we have real responsibilities in terms of this monitoring, and no one else can do it but you. Teachers for years have been saying that the day after Halloween brings uncontrollable kids to school with major highs from all that candy. But I just read an article recently that said, not true. It said it's just the excitement and the lack of sleep from that night. Well, I don't believe a word of it, but that's just my opinion. Is your child exposed to dangerous things like cigarette smoke in the car or in the home? We all know the dangers of secondhand smoke. And are there mothballs in your house? Get rid of them. I think this is one of the most informative chapters in my book, The Dangers of Mothballs. When is the last time you saw moths eating away at your clothes? Anyway. And besides, there are many natural ways to combat this without using these dangerous little white balls. Lemons, I saw the other day on Facebook, said lemons with cloves stuck in them does the trick. It's really worth researching this and knowing about these dangers. Does your child get car sick or bus sick? This too can really affect their day at school. No reading on the bus. You know how some kids love to do it. And they also may need medication to help them. Now, some children have allergies to specific things like the orange food coloring in cheese, which is one example that I personally experienced with a child who was really uncontrollable until this discovery was finally made. And it changed his life completely when his diet was changed and this was taken away. Are you providing good lighting for doing homework with the proper desk and the chair and the school supplies for working? Or is the computer taking up most of the desk? Is doing homework free of interruptions and distractions? And are the TV and the computer and the electronic gadgets turned off then? Does your child need a special pencil grip? To maintain that proper tripod pencil grip. I find that if the proper pencil grip is not established or corrected at age 4 or 5, it's almost impossible to change. An incorrect pencil grip can result in a child not wanting to write much because it can be awkward and painful. It actually hurts. Thumb and Peter pointer on the pencil with the middle finger underneath for support. Do you need a timing device to encourage your child and to complete the homework tasks? There are just a variety of them out there. Plenty of ways for a beeper to go off. There's lots of choice out there. Here are some of them. Lots of choice. Does your child need a pop-up motivator? Or a reinforcer, as it's sometimes called, for getting the homework done and other tasks done? Here's an example. You just label the task on the outside of this pill box, put the reward inside. Your child will gradually want to move on from tangible rewards like candy or money, if you put that inside, to rewards that are intangible, like praise and pride of accomplishment. And this comes with maturity. But when they're little, you start off with things like this. So this is just a pill dispenser, but very handy, and it works. After the timer goes off, they may have a snack, or maybe you'll have a special thing for them to do. Do you need to be involved with overseeing and guiding the homework? Some children need this kind of assistance longer than others. Depends on your child. Now I'm going to talk about sickness and illness. Be careful not to blow illness out of proportion. Children can love to be sick. Try to ensure your child's school attendance is excellent and punctual. Don't encourage your child to stay home at every little ache and pain. Don't be an enabler. It can manifest itself into chronic absenteeism and can become a vicious cycle. Show how proud you are of your child for not missing school. Hopefully your child's teacher or the school gives rewards or certificates for good attendance. Do you know I still have mine from elementary school? And if I'm any indication, I seldom missed any school in my whole 50 years of teaching. My mother, who was also my grade 1 teacher, had no sympathy for little aches and pains, and off to school we went. Now, speaking of my mother, and this is all in my book in great depth, in my first year of teaching, I was assigned to the very same grade she had, grade 1. So, guess who did the lesson plans each night while I was out dating? What a great first year I had. And it actually set the tone for the rest of my career. She gave me confidence, and she let me know what a wonderful profession I was in. So thank you, Mom. Gifted children, or children who are bored with school because they find work too easy, sometimes they can develop those, quote, tummy aches in the morning, and they want to stay home. So parents, you must look into this and get answers from the teacher. Another interesting fact about gifted students is that they often judge themselves by what they have not accomplished, so they can be very hard on themselves. They take the world's problems on their shoulders. But when your child misses school or constantly arrives late, he or she may miss new information, may miss mastering new concepts, and fall behind very easily. Now, if you are in the habit of withdrawing your child for multiple holidays during the school year, and believe me, this does happen, at least make sure your child writes a holiday journal each night or reads each night on that vacation. Now the report card. Many times parents come to an interview with the teacher to discuss their child's progress report, and they're completely blown away or even embarrassed by the fact that educational jargon is used by the teacher and they don't understand or have never heard before. And perhaps they're too shy or embarrassed to ask the meaning of it. In my opinion, the teacher should never assume that a parent knows these terms, and the teacher should always include a simple definition without even asking the parent if they know what it is or not. Now, for this reason, I have provided an extensive glossary in my book of 225 educational terms with definitions for both the parent and the teacher. Now, when some of my tutoring students bring their report cards to me to look at, I even have trouble understanding it nowadays. There seems to be so much professional jargon. I'm wondering how parents even know what it's saying. In my opinion, some schools maybe should consider changing the format, making them more parent-friendly. I think parents have to demand that, in my opinion. Now let's talk about how children learn. John Ruecki helps us with this when he says this: 10% of what the learner reads is retained. Now, retained meaning remembered. 20% of what the learner hears is retained. Oh dear, I hope you remember more than this today. 30% of what the learner sees is retained. So visuals, show those pictures, do those diagrams, the charts. I still hope you remember more than 30% today. 50% of what the learner sees and hears is retained. 70% of what the learner says is retained. So, those presentations and those projects that your child has to do in front of the class, they're good. 90% of what the learner says as he or she does is retained. So we have the combination. What is this telling us about how we teach our children? They need hands-on, and they need to be actively involved in the task at hand. So, what students are saying to us is this: tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I may remember. But involve me, and I'll understand. Now, we're going to talk about homework hassles. I took this title from one of the books of the Ready Freddy series by Abby Klein, which 6-year-olds just love to read. Every book starts the same way. I have a problem, a really, really big problem. Let me tell you about it. Well, homework can certainly be a pressing problem for the family for many reasons. Now, in order to be on the same page with your school's expectations, parents should first check the parent handbook and the guide or the school guidebook to be aware of the number of minutes that's expected for each grade. For example, if your grade 1 child is expected to do 20 minutes each night plus oral reading, or therefore it doesn't make sense to force your child to do more. If your child finishes an assignment in a jiffy and it was neatly and correctly done, it's not fruitful to start ringing alarm bells at school about, oh, the work's too easy, too boring, not challenging enough. Let your child feel good about the fact that the review of the work covered that day was successful. More time to read. More time to play a game with mom and dad. Whatever happened to chess and checkers and Monopoly and doing puzzles together as a family? I think families are often stressed and feel so much pressure over homework. My book provides ways for all students, all ages, but a lot for older students, for all kinds of exams and test preparation. So this is very helpful for those students, especially those going to high school and university. How do you prepare for an essay? How do you prepare for a multiple choice exam? This kind of thing. Wrap it, snap it, clap it, and tap it. You don't have to have one musical bone in your body to use the 3 R's of rhyme, rhythm, and repetition when trying to help your child memorize some facts at home. Children love this aspect of music and can readily help you compose a funny little rap song or a rhyme which includes information to be learned. They also love to see mom and dad joining in to help them in a fun way or a silly way with no stress or tension. The self-confidence that your child gains by learning something so easily, and in other words, children learn fast through music. Couldn't be any further from the truth. You would not find many lessons in my classroom without some aspect of the 3 R's, rhyme, rhythm, and repetition. Is this a big chapter in my book? You betcha. I won't even talk about these school boards now that are cutting the music programs to save costs. Parents should really rebel. Parents often ask me what I think are the most important things in helping their child, and I've narrowed it down to these. Let's start with routines and consistency. Routines transfer over to the classroom, believe me, and they help children get organized. Consistency helps your child to know what to expect in terms of consequences for their actions. Now, my grandchildren all know that time out is sitting on the stairs. No ifs, ands, or buts. Try not to flip-flop on your rules and established routines. Once your child knows your expectations and knows that they will not readily change, he or she will abide by them. It reduces the confusion in the home, and it helps with organizing your daily living. Now, your child must know when homework should be done, how to prepare for school the night before, like lunches being made, clothes chosen, homework in the backpack or ready, or waiting on the top of the stairs or the table near the door, wherever you have designated it, books gathered to return to the school library, the non-leaking water bottle ready. They should know when their room must be cleaned, their teeth brushed, daily chores done, like feeding the pet, what TV show can and cannot be watched. And don't forget that wonderful Discovery Channel for learning. Establishing routines and consistency will be reflected in your child's progress report, believe me, without a doubt. It's that important. Now, parents can really assist the teacher by helping the child to speak in complete sentences, and not just one-word answers or a physical gesture, or like, yeah, or I don't know, or huh. Training your child to listen to instructions and following them accurately is not always easy. It helps to first establish eye contact before even giving a direction, and with no extraneous sounds or noises around for distraction. Start simply with 1 and progress gradually to 2 and then 3. Take your dirty plate to the kitchen, wipe it off in the rubbish bin, and then put it in the sink. Now, by age 6, your child should be capable of these directions well. Poor listening skills is really a chronic problem. I have had parents say to me that they always repeat a direction at least 5 times before they get any reaction from their child at all. No, 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 that has to stop. Not only do children find following verbal directions difficult, but also the written directions. They fail to read them properly on tests and worksheets, and they can miss out on that key word like not or opposite. Changes the whole answer completely, and therefore they can lose valuable marks on a test. They've got to learn to read the instructions. Have your child look at you when you are speaking, and when your child is speaking to you. You want him or her to have a good job interview someday, right? And it's not too early to start. Even that firm handshake. Some children don't even know what hand to use to shake a hand. Any idea that you can use to help your child with homework or studying for a test, or another idea rather, is the use of games. Now just say the word game, and your child will respond miraculously. Like when you're drilling flashcards of facts or words. A right answer, the card goes to the child. Wrong answer, goes to mom or dad. Who will be the winner? Don't forget to say good game or congratulations after. Doesn't have to be complicated. Simple game, they love it. I want to mention now a wonderful site on the web called Understood for Learning and Attention Issues. It's like chatting with the experts. You just click onto your child's grade, and then you select the issue that your child is having or the subject he's weak in, and up comes simple tools. What to try, what to use, possible solutions. It's very well laid out, easy to read, really helpful for parents and teachers, and it's one of the best sites I have discovered. So you'll enjoy that in your book. Try to remember to balance work with play. This is hard. Don't overstructure your child's life because that can result in stress and burnout. Your child wants to experience fun and laughter and see you having fun as well. Remember, you're the best role model for your child. So include things in your life like family walks and nature hikes and picnics and family trips to the library. That was a big article of mine in one of these magazines. I hope you got to read it. Outings like sporting events, cultural events, movies, or just out for an ice cream cone are a relaxing way to add enjoyment to the family, and they don't always have to cost money. When I was very young, root beer was just invented, so it was out to A&W for a root beer. You see? Fond memories, but simple. Now don't forget, parents, that giving your child choices is also important. Every child likes to have the power to make certain decisions. As I often say, there is no choice about what time to go to bed at night, but there can be a choice of whether to wear the red pajamas or the blue pajamas. I want to say something now about potential negative influences on your child. I cannot stress how important having good friends in your child's life is. They can play such a valuable role and carry such a very positive influence. And if you find this is not the case, when you observe and you listen at play dates and sleepovers, then you take steps to remove those bad influences as soon as possible. And do not let your child associate with those friends, so-called friends. You know, my daughters still have the same good friends today that they had in elementary and high school. They email, they visit, they travel, they Skype. Good friends are so important, but the right ones. You can play a part in that, parents. Every parent knows the horror stories that can result when you do not monitor your child's use of the computer and other devices. Keep that bedroom door open, or put the computer in the living room, or buy that chip for your computer to protect your child from those undesirable and inappropriate stuff. Now, the handout booklet that I've prepared for you today includes the 9 most dangerous apps for your child, along with information on learning what those texting acronyms mean that your child is using for communication with others. If all you know is LOL, what's that, laughing out loud or lots of love, I'm not sure myself, then I think it's time you learn the other 28 most common ones that might just alarm you. We all have seen families in restaurants where each member has a gadget or a phone in his or her hands. No one talks to each other, and I have actually seen complete meals not touched by little ones because they were so busy on their gadgets. Only you parents can change these addictive habits. You have to make it happen, remember? In terms of manners and etiquette and appropriate behavior, your child should not be the cause of someone not enjoying a movie, of being disturbed during a meal in a restaurant, or shocked in a grocery store by tantrums, by having a plane trip ruined by bad behavior, by seeing a helper being hit or kicked or spit at, by touching and tasting in a bakery shop, skateboarding in a grocery store, ripping and dirtying books or magazines without buying them, or using profanity for all to hear. Yes, I've seen it all. Parents have to teach the proper ways to behave in public. You have to make it happen. Now, I found this little activity book on the computer to establish proper restaurant behavior. In Hong Kong, we now even have courses for children to learn proper table manners and proper etiquette. These courses are available. This one's called I Am Going to a Restaurant. There's all kinds of activities in here for your child to fill out. Now let's talk about discipline. Yes, discipline and not punishment. The experts say that punishment is spanking, hitting, slapping, insulting, belittling, and should not be a part of discipline for your child, as it's the least effective method. Yes, there should be consequences for inappropriate behavior. And I quote Barbara Coloroso, an expert. I cannot say enough about her books, her videos, her CDs, and so on. She imparts these few words of wisdom that I have used with parents over and over in my career. And I've been fortunate enough to meet this person in person as well. Say what you mean what you say, and do what you said you were going to do. I'll repeat that. Say what you mean what you say, and do what you said you were going to do. That's the discipline in your home. Follow through on it. Timeouts and rewards and incentives and awards can play an effective, positive part in disciplining your child. They're everywhere. This just happens to be something from the dollar store. You can buy your own medals for your child, whatever devices you want to use. And as I said before, once they mature and get a little older, they'll get away from these tangible rewards. Do not attack your child's character, but attack the behavior only. I love you, but I don't like what you just did. Criticize the things they do and not them. Try not to correct your child in front of people. Do it in private later. And try not to compare your children, of course. Try to put your responses to your child in a positive way. For instance, if your child has not made his or her bed in the morning and asks you if he or she can go out to play with a friend outside, instead of saying, no, you can't go out because you didn't make your bed this morning, say yes. As soon as your bed is made, you may go out. See the difference? Now, teenagers. Raising them, someone once said, is like nailing Jell-O to a tree. One of the great truths adults have learned, apparently. I've always called grade 7 and 8 kids the wonderful world of walking hormones. Actually, it starts in the third session of grade 6, like March. It's so obvious. They just change. So what are we dealing with? Well, changing voices for the boys, interested in the opposite sex, telephone constantly, texting, playing with the electronic gadgets nonstop, watching TV too much, the hidden tattoos. It took me months to discover my daughter's tiny Libra sign on her ankle. And now as an adult, I think I heard her say she wants it removed. I could have told her that. Teenagers want more privacy, and some even want green hair or a shaved head. Try not to overreact, but you can say that you do not prefer that style and you do not like it. But that is their choice. Hair always grows back in anyway. Remember, a general rule is this, and I learned it from Barbara Coloroso. If it is not life-threatening and not immoral or against the school rules, it's just not worth getting upset over it. You have to choose your battles. Sometimes you just have to wear kid gloves and put tape over your mouth. If you go on the web, under the words expertbeacon.com, you will see the advice for parents from 6 experts on raising healthy, happy teens, sending your teen off to college, communicating about drug abuse, how parents can lead teens to a connected life free from addictions, how parents can talk with their teenager about substance abuse, and how to help teenagers leave home with resilience and perseverance. Each of these writings has a bullet point and a do and a don't list for parents. It's really nicely laid out. I hope you'll find it helpful. But if you suspect drugs or alcohol or anorexia or bulimia, yes, by all means, take action. Search those pockets, look under the bed, look under the mattress, in the closets. Yes, parents of teenagers need to put on those kid gloves sometimes and just say, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And it does. And don't forget, parents, that you have no brains during those teenage years. But believe me, when they turn 21, they suddenly start asking you for advice, and you really do get some brains again. It's a miracle that happens. Mom, can you show me how to do this? Or the other thing. What do you think I should do about this? And so on. It really is amazing. So just hang in there. One of the things I learned at a week-long Creative Problem Solving Institute at Buffalo State University, which I was fortunate to attend 3 times in my career, was this: there is no problem so great it cannot be solved. I always had that quote up in my classroom on a big poster, and it was said umpteen times a year by both students and myself. We really want children to feel that problems can be solved, and it's not the end of the world when they are faced with a big one. We've all heard that moderation is the key, and this can apply to parenting as well. Not all children thrive with a tiger mom. Now, here's the information on Amy Chua's shocking and controversial book, in case you have not read it and you want to. Most of us feel her disciplining and the raising of her daughters was over the top, and that a healthy balance is really what you need. Not too strict, not too lenient. Parents, please remember that you are the parent and you're not your child's best friend, and that both parents should be on the same page with a united front, because you know how they can play one against the other. They're brilliant at that. This is also very true for divorced and separated parents. And in fact, I have a very good article I feel that I have written on divorce and separation in one of my books here as well, that you have probably read. And the experts tell us that parents of divorced and separated children should watch for the warning signs that might signal divorce-related depression. So these signs can be sleeping problems, behavior problems, withdrawal from loved ones or from loved activities, drug or alcohol use or abuse, concentration problems, eating disorders or self-injury, angry or violent outbursts, and negative changes that are not normal. Now, there's a whole book series for children who are in, I would say, grade 3 to 5, called Amber Brown by Paula Danziger. All about Amber Brown's life as a child of divorced parents. They're very good books, well written, and they're quite humorous at times. She tells it like it is. I have actual quotes in a chapter on divorce in my book. Actual quotes from my students, what they actually said and what was in their journal writing. One of them being, I wish my mom and dad would just act friendly when they pick me up and could just sit together at school events and come to my parent interviews together. Is that asking too much of them? Now, something a little lighter. Have you ever tried a wish list with your child for incentives and rewards? These can be brainstormed with your child in the form of a list and written down. Now, this list can include fun things that would be nice to do or have or experience as a reward for, let's say, good marks or getting homework done in time or good behavior or for some successful achievement. Wish list ideas do not have to cost money, and they can even be simple as, and fun, as a walk around the block with mom or walk around the block with dad. No siblings. Or an extra bedtime snack or bedtime story. Your child simply picks the reward from the wish list when it is deserved. This works really well, I have found, and kids love it. Parents have also told me the same thing when they've taken my idea. Now, another suggestion or tidbit for you is the funny book. It's called a funny book, at least that's what we call it in our family, and one of the best things I can remember doing for my girls was having a scrapbook and a pen handy in the kitchen drawer. From the earliest age, I would just quickly jot down the date and their age and what they said or did that was funny or cute or amazing. You know, we always think we're going to remember these things, but we don't. And when my daughters were in their late teens, they would sometimes pull out those funny books when their friends came over and had barrels of laugh reading all those cute or hilarious things they said or did. In fact, I remember one of her friends said to me, "I wish my mom had done that when I was small." You know, we still talk about the funny books, and my daughters are now doing that for my grandchildren. Something that is not talked about as often as it should be, and perhaps not taken seriously enough, is emotional intelligence. And I'd highly recommend all of Dr. Daniel Goleman's materials, his books, his videos, his CDs on this topic. Do you know that some experts say that emotional intelligence is even more important than IQ? I showed this amazing video to a friend of mine once, and she was just in total disbelief. And she said, "Where was something like this when we were growing up?" You will learn so much about your child by reading Daniel Goleman's material and learning about all the research that he's done on emotional intelligence. It's big now. Self-esteem. Remember, we are not born with a low or a high self-esteem. It is developed and fostered by all of those around us, right from our birth. A child's self-esteem can be low, it can become low or even destroyed through a lack of encouragement by one or both parents, by a sibling, by teachers, or by a classroom bully. You know, they used to tell us when we were children to always say, "Sticks and stones will break our bones, but names will never hurt us." Do you remember that? That's what we used to say. "Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me." Well, it's not true. It just isn't the case a lot of times. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but bullying can be fatal. It is said, and I quote, "It's easier to build up a child than it is to repair an adult." Choose your words wisely, says the quote. Self-esteem is simply how you value yourself and knowing that you have self-worth. I'll recommend a fantastic book called 501 Ways to Boost Your Child's Self-Esteem by Robert Ramsay. Now, there are also a great many books out there now on filling your bucket. You've probably heard a lot about this lately. Bucket lists. Some include all kinds of activities that the children could do. Many teachers are really onto this now, and there's a delightful story in my book called The Theory of the Dipper in the Bucket. It's a must-read. That's in my motivational and inspirational section of my book. Someone said, and I quote, "A mother who radiates self-love and self-acceptance actually vaccinates her daughter against a low self-esteem." Many students are now quite familiar with Dr. Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. The 7 ways of learning and a few more intelligences like naturalist or nature smart and existentialist have been added in recent years. Teachers nowadays really try hard to plan their lessons using multiple intelligences to cater to their students' strengths and talents, and it makes the lessons so much more interesting and meaningful. Parents should also familiarize themselves with the different abilities that their child might have. Now, Dr. Gardner says that everyone has all of these intelligences, but in different proportions. I have shown you here simplified definitions. So, logical mathematical intelligence is number smart. Verbal linguistic intelligence really means word smart. Visual spatial intelligence is picture smart. Interpersonal intelligence is people smart. And intrapersonal intelligence is self smart. This chapter in my book also includes a questionnaire that helps you discover Which of the intelligences is your strength or your child's strength? There's also a handout in the booklet today about multiple intelligences for you. Now, the most important, reading. 4 simple words. By reading, we read. Or let's make a rhyming couplet and say, students who read are the ones who succeed. That's really the name of the game, and it's the key to it all. Oh yes, of course, phonics is important. In fact, now there's research out that's just really recent, saying that they don't think learning sight words is helpful anymore. So it's all very interesting. I cannot say how important learning nursery rhymes is for little ones. And when they make that connection with the rhyming families, it's so much easier. The part of the word at the end is the same. Cake, make, take, bake. The ache family, we call it. We even use rhymes when we're teaching them rules in phonics. When 2 vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. It says its own name and it's long. Reading is the addiction we want our children to have. Read to your child daily, have your child read to you. If they need a card or a marker underneath each line to keep them from skipping lines, do it. Have regular, quiet family reading times and discuss books together. Let your child see that you value reading too. Make sure you all own a library card. Do you know that Albert Einstein said, the only thing you absolutely have to know is the location of the library? And I love what Tahira Mafi said. I love walking into a bookstore. It's like all my friends are there, sitting on a shelf, waving their pages at me. Books are a journey into your imagination. Apparently, the biggest mystery in the whole world, say the reading experts, is that nobody knows or has figured out how a child really learns to read. So, we have to expose them to many methods, a variety of techniques and approaches, and they will take what they need to make it happen. The puzzle pieces will fit together. There isn't just one best or only way. Do you know exactly how you learn to read? I don't. Mark Twain said, the man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who can't read. Now, if I had to choose these really good books for parents, it would be these. Reading Magic by Mem Fox. She's famous for wonderful children's books as well. And the other is The Reading Bug by Paul Jennings, and the Read Aloud book by Jim Trelease. Now we're reaching the end of what I want to say. Don't let anyone tell you that it's easy to be a parent. It is a daunting task and perhaps the hardest job we have in this world. Now, this little piece of writing has no title, and I don't know the author, but I really like it. Listen and see what you think. Children can be likened to a handful of seeds from different flowers. At first they seem more similar than different in many respects. Place these seeds in the earth, nourish them, and they become very different. Some will become small and delicate blossoms, and some will be big and brilliant. Some will be early bloomers, and others will be late bloomers. But one thing is certain, given good conditions, they will all bloom with their own individual beauty. I love it. And one more Chinese proverb that says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So parents, don't feel you have to change everything at once. Remember, just incremental steps will do, little by little. Even if you just take 1 or 2 of my suggestions today and implement them as part of your parenting skills, this will all have been worth it today. Someone once said that speakers must, number 1, challenge the mind. Number 2, touch the heart. And number 3, touch the funny bone. Well, I hope I've done at least one of these things for you here today. So, in conclusion, Let's go back to the child one more time and listen to 7 things your child needs to hear. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. I'm listening. This is your responsibility. You've got what it takes, now go for it. So, happy parenting, everyone, and enjoy your precious child. Thank you.